The 14th of January 1902, Volume 4. One is not worthy of Jesus if he does not empty himself of everything. What true exaltation consists of. As I was in my usual state, my adorable Jesus came and told me, "My daughter, only one who has emptied himself of everything and has filled himself completely with me can be truly worthy of me in such a way as to make of himself an object of divine love alone, to the point that my love must come down to form his life, and he must love me not with his love, but with my own love." Then he added, "What do these words mean? He has cast down the mighty from their thrones and has lifted up the lowly. That the soul, destroying herself completely, fills all of herself with God, and as she loves God with God himself, God exalts the soul to an eternal love. This is the true and greatest exaltation, and also true humility." Then he continued, "The true sign to know whether one possesses this love is that the soul cares about nothing but loving God, making him known, and making everyone love him." Then as he withdrew in my interior, I heard him pray, saying, "Ever holy and indivisible Trinity, I adore you profoundly. I love you intensely. I thank you perpetually for all and in the hearts of all." And I went on in this way, hearing him pray almost continuously inside of me, and I with him. End of the reading. The 14th of January 1906, Volume 6. Jesus forms his image in the light that comes out of the soul. As I was in my usual state, blessed Jesus came for just a little and told me, "My daughter, I am not content when only glimmers of light come out of the soul. I want that her thought be light, light the word, light the desire, light the works, light the steps, and that these lights, united together, form a sun, so that in this sun my whole image may be formed. And this happens when she does everything for me. Then does she become all light. And just as one who wants to enter into the solar light finds no obstacle to entering it, so do I find no obstacle in this sun which the creature has made of her whole being. On the other hand, with one who is not all light, I find many hindrances to forming my image." End of the reading. The 14th of January 1922, Volume 13. The Most Holy Trinity, inaccessible light that gives life to all. I found myself outside of myself, and I saw the heavens opened, and a light, inaccessible to any creature. Rays descended from within this light, which invested all creatures, celestial, terrestrial, and purging. Some rays were so dazzling that though remaining invested, enraptured, and delighted, one would not know how to describe anything of what they contained. Other rays were less dazzling, and one could describe the beauty, the happiness, and the truths which they contained. However, the power of the light was such that I myself didn't know whether my little mind would ever be capable of going back into myself again. If my Jesus had not shaken me with his words, no human force could have pulled me back from that light to call me back to life. But alas, I am still unworthy of my dear celestial fatherland. My unworthiness forces me to wander in exile. But oh, how hard this is for me." Then Jesus told me, "My daughter, let us go back together into your bed. What you see is the most holy Trinity, as though holding all creatures in the palm of its hand. And as it gives life, preserves, purges, and delights from its simple breath, there is no creature which does not hang upon it. Its light is inaccessible to created mind. If anyone wanted to enter, it would happen to him as to a person who wanted to enter into a great fire. Not having sufficient heat and power to face this fire, he would be consumed by the fire. Therefore, being extinguished, he will never be able to say either how much or what kind of heat that fire contained. The rays are the divine virtues. Some virtues are less adaptable to created mind. This is why the created mind is delighted by them. It can see them, but is unable to describe anything. The other virtues, which are more adaptable to the human mind, can be described like a stammerer would do, because no one can speak about them in a right and worthy manner. The virtues which are more adaptable to the human mind are love, mercy, goodness, beauty, justice, science. Therefore, together with me, let us send our homages to the Most Holy Trinity in the name of all, to thank it, praise it, and bless it for so much goodness toward creatures. Then, after I prayed together with Jesus, I returned into myself. End of the reading. The 14th of January 1924, Volume 16. The divine will was everything for man, and with it he needed nothing. Before being scourged, Jesus wanted to be stripped in order to give back to the creature the royal garment of the divine will. I was accompanying the mystery of the scourging, compassionating my sweet Jesus, when he saw himself so confused in the midst of enemies, stripped of his garments under a storm of blows. And my lovable Jesus, coming out of my interior in the state he was in when he was scourged, told me, "My daughter, do you want to know why I was stripped when I was scourged? In each mystery of my passion, first I occupied myself with joining the split between the human will and the divine, and then with the offences which this split produced. When man in Eden broke the bonds of the union between the supreme will and his will, he stripped himself of the royal garments of my will, and clothed himself with the miserable rags of his will, weak, inconstant, impotent to doing anything good. My will was a sweet enchantment for him, which kept him absorbed within a most pure light, which made him know nothing but his God, from whom he had come, and who gave him nothing but innumerable happinesses. And he was so absorbed within the so much giving of his God to him, that he would not give a thought to himself. Oh, how happy man was, and how the divinity delighted in giving him so many particles of his being for as many as the creature can receive, in order to make the creature similar to himself. So as soon as the creature broke the union of our will with his, he lost the royal garment. He lost the enchantment, the light, the happiness. He looked at himself without the light of my will, and in looking at himself without the enchantment which kept him absorbed, he came to know himself. He felt ashamed. He became afraid of God, so much so that his very nature felt the sad effects of this. He felt the cold and his nakedness, and felt the vital need to cover himself. Just as our will kept him within the port of immense happinesses, so did his will put him in the port of miseries. Our will was everything for man, and in it he found everything. It was right that, having come out of us and living in our will as our tender child, he would live of it, and his will was to make up for everything he needed. Therefore, as he wanted to live of his own will, he became needy of everything, because the human will does not have the power to make up for all needs, nor does it contain the fount of good within itself. So he was forced to procure for himself with hardship the necessary things of life. Do you see then what it means not to be united with my will? Oh, if all knew it, they would have one yearning alone, that my will might come to reign upon the earth. So had Adam not withdrawn from the divine will, his nature also would have had no need of clothing. He would not have felt ashamed of his nakedness, nor would he have been subject to suffering cold, heat, hunger, weakness. But these natural things were almost nothing. Rather, they were symbols of the great good which his soul had lost. Therefore, my daughter, before being tied to the pillar to be scourged, I wanted to be stripped, in order to suffer and repair for the nakedness of man when he stripped himself of the royal garment of my will. I felt such confusion and pain within me in seeing myself stripped in the midst of enemies who were mocking me, that I cried over the nakedness of man, and I offered my nakedness to my celestial Father, so that man might be clothed once again with the royal garment of my will. And as ransom, so that this would not be denied to me, I offered my blood, my flesh torn to shreds, and I let myself be stripped not only of my garments, but also of my skin, to be able to pay the price and satisfy for the crime of this nakedness of man. I poured out so much blood in this mystery that in no other did I pour so much as to be able to cover him with a second garment, a garment of blood, so as to cover him again, and then warm him and wash him, to dispose him to receive the royal garment of my will. On hearing this, surprised, I said, My beloved Jesus, how can it be possible that because he withdrew from your will, man felt the need to clothe himself, was ashamed, was afraid? But then you always did the will of the celestial Father. You were one with him. Your mama never knew her own will, that the two of you had need of clothing and food, and you felt the cold and the heat. And Jesus added, Yes, my daughter, it is precisely so. If man felt ashamed of his nakedness and was subject to many natural miseries, it was precisely because he lost the sweet enchantment of my will. And even though it was his soul that did evil, not his body, the body, however, indirectly, was as though accomplice with the wicked will of man, and so his nature remained as though profaned by the bad volition of man. Therefore both the soul and the body had to feel the pain of the evil committed. As for me, indeed, I always did the supreme will, but I did not come to find an innocent man, a man before sin. Rather, I came to find a sinful man with all their miseries. And so I had to associate myself with men, taking upon myself all of their evils and subjecting myself to all the necessities of life as if I were one of them. However, in me there was this prodigy. If I wanted, I would need nothing, either clothing or food or anything else. But I did not want to make use of it out of love for man. I wanted to sacrifice myself in everything, even in the most innocent things created by me, in order to prove my ardent love to him. Even more, this served to impetrate from my divine Father that out of regard for me and for my will completely sacrificed to him, he would give back to man the noble royal garment of our will. End of the reading. The 14th of January 1933, Volume 31, The Page of Life. Creation, Celestial Page. The I love you punctuation of these pages. The Craftsman and Divine Writer. I was doing my usual going around for all creation in order to encounter the divine will dominating in it and to exchange him with my love for his such great love for me in creating so many things for my love, and it seemed to me that each created thing was waiting to receive the seal of my I love you. This was a rite, a tribute, a little sign that they demanded from the earth for that will that had given so much to all creatures, that formed their actor and conservator. But while I was doing this, it seemed that my sweet Jesus, with his own hands, took my I love you and put it as seal on those created things to which I had directed it, and setting them aside, he waited that the work of my I love you to all the other created things should follow. And I, marvelling to myself in seeing the interest of Jesus, his waiting, thought to myself, but what great thing is my little I love you, that it arrives at forming the occupation and interest of Jesus. And he, in lingering, in order to speak to me, told me, my blessed daughter, do you want to know what thing your I love you is? It is as the punctuation to the handwriting. A handwriting without punctuation is seen as confusion, without exact ideas, without expressions, formed in the way that one who reads it does not find the true sense. It can have those ideas that she wants, beautiful or ugly, as she pleases, but, lacking punctuation, one can call it a writing without true value, and with clear notes it speaks of the ignorance and the little value of who has written it. And yet, how great is a period or a comma, a question mark, and all the rest of punctuation. One can say it is nothing compared to the work of the extension of a handwriting. Such is your I love you. It is the punctuation of your life, of your words, works, steps, and even of your heart. The punctuation of your I love you casts order in all your acts. It replaces exact ideas. It gives the most beautiful expressions and lets you know him for whose love the page and the handwriting of your life was formed. But this is still nothing. This period, this full stop, this little comma of your I love you rises on high and punctuates our divine page, our celestial handwriting of the whole of creation. And what is the whole of creation, if not our divine page put forth by us? And our celestial handwriting is impressed on the whole page of creation, punctuated with such order and harmony, with the most exact ideas, with the most beautiful and moving expressions, made with such value of artistry that no other craftsman can imitate. Now, your I love you unites to the divine punctuation, and punctuating it, one knows the value of our handwriting. She learns to read our page. She understands with exact ideas how much we have done for her love, and she receives the most beautiful and moving expressions of her Creator, and she gives us the little tribute. She pays us the little income that we, with love of justice, await from the creature. Not only this, since the I love you has the virtue, naturally, of converting into light, with all love I take these full stops and commas of your I love you, and I put your little light on our divine punctuation, and looking at the whole creation, I feel such contractions of love, because I see the punctuation of the little daughter of my volition united to our celestial punctuation. But tell me, my daughter, why do you say I love you and want to invest all created things, my own acts, with your I love you? And I, because I love you and I want to be loved by you. And he, therefore, because you love me and say, I love you to me, and is this not the greatest of my contentments, my sighs, my anxieties, my deliriums, to be loved by the creature? Now know that to every I love you of yours, I whisper to the ear of your heart, I love you. And I place my celestial punctuation on the page and handwriting of your life. Aren't you content with this? And I, my love, it is not enough for me, no. I am not content with your punctuation alone, because being little and good at nothing, I do not know how to do anything else, but you know how to do everything. In order to make me content, I want that you yourself form my page and the handwriting of my life. And Jesus, yes, I will content you. And I say to you that I am doing it. Now know that in order to have a written page, paper, ink, pen, all the materials are needed first in order to form a written page. If one of them is lacking, the writing cannot have life. Now the paper is my divine will that, as foundation of everything, must form the page of life. See, I can say that my will extended itself as foundation of the whole of creation, more than paper, in order to receive our distinct handwriting of our incessant love, in which we re-poured more than indelible handwriting, our divine qualities and works, our handwriting being formed by incessant works and love. Therefore, the soul must possess my divine will as foundation of everything. But this is not enough. Incessant love is also needed in order to form the ink to write on this paper of light. But paper and ink are not sufficient in order to form the handwriting, because the pen of holy works, the variety of sacrifices, the circumstances of life are needed in order to form the pen, and thus write with ordered handwriting the most beautiful and moving expressions that now make one cry, now fill the heart with love, in such a way that one who will be able to read them will feel transformed and re-given the life of good that page possesses. And I, divine craftsman and writer, when I find paper, ink and pen, as I formed and wrote the page of creation, so to my greatest delight I occupy myself to form and write the page of this creature, perhaps more beautiful than the very page of the creation. Therefore, always have paper, pen and ink ready, and I promise you to write the page of your life, in which you will see that I alone have been he who has formed and written it, and so you will remain content, and I content. End of the reading. The 14th of January, 1934, Volume 33. Sweet enchantment on both parts, of God and of the creature. How she acquires the power of making his divine will hers. Sufferings smile before the glory, the triumphs, the conquests. Jesus hidden by sufferings. I am under the reign of the divine fiat that's soaking me completely inside and outside and penetrating even into the marrow of my bones, says to all my poor being, fiat, fiat, fiat. I felt myself in his arms, and as I call him with my incessant speaking so that he would form his life in my acts, his heartbeat in my heart, his breath in mine, his thought in my mind, so a burst of light sprung forth from me and would want to as though bind the holy divine volition. in order to make it all mine, such that it would be in my power to form its life in me, all of divine will. So I felt myself worried by this way of my doing, and my highest good Jesus, repeating his brief little visit, all goodness told me, "My little daughter of my volition, you must know that as the creature invokes and calls my fiat, imploring its life in order to form it in hers, so she springs forth light and forms the enchantment of God that enraptures his divine pupil, that, enraptured, looks at the creature and forms there the exchange of sweet enchantment, and the void in the act of the creature, in order to be able to give and enclose the divine will in her act, that while it forms, it develops its life. The happy creature acquires the power of making it hers, and since it is hers, she powerfully loves it more than her own life. My daughter, as long as my will is not held as one's own life, exclusively hers, that no one can take away from her, even though she knows that it is a gift received from God, and even though she is already fortunate and victorious to have possession of it, she can never love as befits my divine will, nor feel the need of its life, nor will it be able to fully develop with all liberty its divine life in the creature. Therefore, calling it disposes you. In making it yours, it will make itself known, and you will feel the great good of possessing its life. And you will love it as it merits to be loved, and you will be jealous to guard it with such attention as to not lose even one breath of it. So, finding myself suffering a little more than usual, I thought to myself, how I would want that my sufferings would form wings for me in order to let me fly into my celestial fatherland, and instead of afflicting me, my little sufferings would make for me a feast. And I felt worried by this, and my beloved Jesus added, "My daughter, do not marvel. Sufferings smile before glory. They feel triumphant in seeing the conquests that they have acquired. And according to the sufferings, so she feels painted the most beautiful and various tints of beauty, and seeing themselves transformed into the rarest beauty, they celebrate. In fact, on earth, sufferings cry. At the doors of heaven, they begin their eternal smile that does not end any more. The sufferings on earth are bearers of humiliations. At the eternal doors, they are bearers of glory. On earth, they make the poor creature unhappy, but with the miraculous secret that they possess, they labour in the most intimate fibres and in the whole human being, the eternal kingdom, in a way that every suffering takes its distinct office. Some act as chisel, some hammer, some file, some brush, some colour. And when they leave the creature entrusted to them, when each suffering has completed its labour, and triumphantly they conduct her to heaven, and then they leave here when they see each suffering exchanged into direct joys and perennial happiness, provided, however, that the creature receives them with love, and they feel and received in every suffering the kiss, the embraces, and the strong squeezes of my divine will. Sufferings then possess the miraculous virtue, otherwise they become as if they did not have suitable instruments in order to complete their labour. But do you want to know who the suffering is? I am the suffering who hides inside of it in order to form labours for my celestial fatherland. And I abundantly exchange the brief residence that they've given me on earth. I am imprisoned in the poor jail of the creature in order to continue my life of sufferings down here. It is just that this life of mine receive its joys, its happiness, its exchange of glory in the celestial regions. Therefore your marvels will cease in hearing that your sufferings smile before the victories, before the triumphs, and before the conquests. End of the reading. There are no more readings today. Have a blessed day.